Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive all about first principles thinking.
Yeah. It's everywhere these days, right? I mean, Elon Musk,
Yeah,
Jeff Bezos, all these innovators
it's
seem to be using it.
wild how popular it's gotten, right?
Yeah.
Like it's been around for centuries, but
Yeah, it's having a moment.
it really is.
So, what is it really? I mean, how would you explain it to someone who's like never even heard of the term?
So first principles thinking, it's kind of like, think of it like mental archaeology.
Okay.
You're digging down,
Uh-huh.
through all those layers of assumptions and opinions
Right.
to get to those bedrock basic truths. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's about asking why over and over and over again.
So you're not just like accepting things at face value. You're really like getting to the why of why something is the way it is.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're stripping away all that baggage and getting to the core of things.
Okay. I like that. So how do we actually do this? Like, what's the process?
Well, there's a really useful framework with 4 key steps.
Okay, so what's step one? Step one is you got to identify the problem and be super specific about it. You know, really nail it down.
Right.
No fuzzy problem statements allowed.
Got it. All right, so step 1, define the problem. Step 2.
All right, step two is you break it down.
Okay.
Break that problem down into its fundamental pieces. Like, what are the absolute undeniable truths about this thing?
Like the building blocks of the problem.
Yeah,
The essential ingredients in a recipe.
exactly like that.
Okay.
Now, step three, this is where it gets interesting.
Ooh, okay.
It's all about questioning assumptions.
Okay.
Every single one.
I'm so guilty of that.
We all are, right? Like, we
okay.
have these preconceived notions about how things work, how they should be.
Right, yeah.
But first principles thinking is all about challenging those assumptions.
Okay.
It's like asking, why is it done this way? Does it have to be this way? What if?
I like that what if. So
Yeah.
you're like becoming a mental rebel, shaking things up.
Exactly.
Okay, step 3, challenge those assumptions.
Yeah.
What's the final step?
Step 4 is where you rebuild. You take those fundamental truths that you've uncovered, you know, those building blocks.
Okay.
You've shed all those limiting assumptions.
Right.
And you construct a fresh solution. You approach the problem with a brand new lens,
Ooh, I like that.
unconstrained by the old ways of doing things.
Okay, so you've got a brand new lens, fresh perspective now.
Mm.
What about some real-world examples? Like I need to see this in action.
Yeah, sure, of course. Let's take Elon Musk and SpaceX, for example.
Okay.
His fundamental question was, why are rockets so expensive?
Good question.
Right. So he used first principles thinking to break down the cost of a rocket, like piece by piece.
Okay.
He looked at the cost of the aluminum, the titanium, the fuel, all those raw materials.
Okay.
And guess what he found out?
What? Tell me.
Those raw materials
Yeah.
only accounted for like 2% of the total cost of a rocket.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So all the other stuff was just like the way it's always been done.
Exactly. The rest of the cost was tied up in all those traditional aerospace industry practices, markups, and, you know, just the assumption that rockets had to be built a certain way.
That's amazing. So he was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. Okay, so what did he do about it?
He decided to cut out the middleman. You know those traditional aerospace companies?
Oh, okay.
SpaceX started building their own rockets in-house.
Wow.
They focused on using those cheap raw materials, streamlining the manufacturing process, and bam.
Okay.
They ended up cutting the cost of launching a rocket by like 90%.
That's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a total game changer.
Uh,
So it's like he found the real problem by using first principles thinking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's rockets.
Yeah.
What about something a little more down to earth, like something we can all relate to?
Sure. Think about Airbnb.
Okay.
They totally revolutionized the travel industry, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't do it by building like fancier hotels or anything.
Right.
They stepped back and they questioned that fundamental assumption.
That everyone needs a hotel.
Exactly. Like, why do we assume that travel accommodations have to mean hotels?
Yeah, it's so obvious now that you say it.
Right. They just asked, what's the essential need here?
Yeah, what is it?
People need a place to sleep when they travel.
Right.
It's like so simple.
It is.
But that simple question led to this whole new business model.
Yeah, and it like totally disrupted the entire industry.
I know, it's crazy.
That's so cool. So we've talked about space travel and now like the way we think about vacations and travel.
Yeah.
But what about like our brains? How does first principles thinking work on like a cognitive level?
Well, that's a good question. So one of the big benefits of first principles thinking is that it helps us to overcome cognitive biases.
Cognitive biases, what are those?
They're kind of like these mental shortcuts our brains use to process information quickly.
Okay.
They can be helpful sometimes, but they can also lead to like these errors in our thinking, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Like one example is the anchoring effect.
Anchoring effect. What's that?
So it's this tendency that we have to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we get, even if it's not the most accurate.
Oh, so we get like stuck on that first idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We get anchored to it, and it becomes hard to see things from a fresh perspective.
Oh, okay. So first principles thinking is kind of like a mental reset button.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, I like that. So how can our listeners start using first principles thinking in their own life?
Well, the cool thing is you can apply it to pretty much any problem, big or small.
Okay.
So start by picking something that bugs you, something that feels inefficient.
Okay.
Could be anything, like your commute to work or a problem you keep running into at work.
All right, so let's say I'm like totally dreading my commute every morning.
Okay, yeah.
Where do I even begin?
So first you got to define the problem, right? Like it's not just that your commute is long, it's that it's eating into your time.
Right.
It's causing you stress. It's maybe preventing you from doing things you enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's deeper than just the miles.
Exactly. Yeah. So get specific about what's really bugging you.
Okay, so now I know exactly what the problem is. What's next?
Okay, so now you break it down.
Okay.
What's the fundamental truth here?
I need to get to work.
Yeah. You need to get from point A to point B. That's the core need. But what assumptions are you making about how that needs to happen?
Well, I'm assuming I have to drive the same route at the same time every day.
Okay, see, and that's where the magic happens.
Oh, okay.
Gotta challenge those assumptions.
Like, what if I took the train?
Exactly. What if you explored public transportation, carpooling, biking,
Oh,
adjusting your work hours?
I could work from home a few days a week.
Yeah, or even exploring remote work options.
Okay.
By rebuilding your commute from those basic truths,
Yeah.
you might discover a whole new way of doing things.
I haven't even thought about that.
Okay.
So I've defined the problem. I've broken it down. I'm challenging my assumptions. What's next?
Well, to help you really dig down and uncover those core truths,
Okay.
I recommend using what's called the 5 whys technique.
The 5 whys.
Yeah, just keep asking why. Like you're a curious little kid
Yeah,
until you get to the bottom of it,
Okay.
You might be surprised by what you find.
5 whys. I like it. So we've talked about a bunch of really specific examples now,
Yeah.
like SpaceX and Airbnb, and even commuting to work.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
How can first principles thinking impact us on a larger scale? Like, how can it change the world?
Well, think about the examples we just discussed. Like
Okay.
SpaceX is pushing the boundaries of space exploration, making it more accessible and affordable.
What?
And Airbnb is changing how people travel and experience the world.
Right.
So these are just 2 examples of how first principles thinking can lead to these groundbreaking innovations
Yeah.
that have this ripple effect on society.
Yeah, it's not just about solving problems. It's about opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. And creating a better future.
I love that. Before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I kind of want to know, how do we know, like, when we've actually found a first principle?
Oh, that's a good question. There are a few things to look for, I think. Like, first of all, it should be self-evident,
Okay.
It should be a truth that's so basic, so fundamental,
Right.
that it's hard to disagree with.
Like, people need a place to stay when they travel.
Exactly. And it's usually, like, universal, too,
Okay.
It applies across different contexts, different situations.
So not just like a rule of thumb for one specific
Right.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a more fundamental truth about the world.
Okay.
And another thing, it should be independent of any specific technology or solution.
Oh, okay.
Like, remember Elon Musk and the rockets?
Yeah.
The basic truth wasn't about a certain type of rocket engine or anything like that.
Right.
It was about the cost of those raw materials.
Right. So if you find yourself getting bogged down in the specifics, like, take a step back.
Exactly.
Ask that bigger question.
Yeah.
What's the underlying principle?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to question your own assumptions along the way.
Love that. So first principles thinking, it's not just about solving problems, it's about personal growth too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a way of thinking that can really help us learn and grow.
It's like a whole new way of looking at the world.
It is. And you know what really excites me about it?
Right.
It's how it can foster creativity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By stripping away all those assumptions and preconceived notions,
Right.
it frees up our minds to explore new possibilities, you
Yeah.
know?
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to think outside the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, true innovation doesn't come from just copying what everyone else has done.
Right.
It's about daring to imagine something completely new,
Okay.
something that challenges the status quo and pushes the boundaries of what's possible.
I love that. So first principles thinking, it's like a toolkit for innovators and change makers.
It is. It really is. It empowers you to break free from all those limitations of conventional thinking.
So if you're feeling stuck, if you're facing a challenge that seems impossible,
Yeah.
remember to take a step back.
Yes.
Ask those why questions.
Yeah.
Embrace the power of first principles thinking.
It's a journey. It's a journey of discovery that can lead to breakthroughs and real change.
Well, this has been an absolutely incredible conversation.
That has been fun.
I'm already thinking about all the ways I can use this in my own life.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And remember, you don't have to change everything overnight.
Right?
Just start small. Pick one problem. Apply the framework and see where it leads you.
I'm excited to get started.
Me too. It's amazing how just a little shift in perspective
Yeah.
can have such a huge impact.
It really is. And the best part is anyone can do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone can use first principles thinking.
So what are you waiting for? Go out there, ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
Challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And use this amazing way of thinking to create something truly incredible.
We believe in
We
you.
can't wait to see what you come up with. And that wraps up our deep dive into first principles thinking,
I hope you enjoyed it.
and that it sparked some new ideas for you.
Remember, this is just the beginning.
There's a whole world of problems out there waiting to be solved.
Yeah. And opportunities waiting to be discovered.
So go out there, ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
Challenge those assumptions.
Keep thinking critically.
Stay curious.
And never stop exploring.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.